Waterford has a problem. A big problem. Elmer has recently informed me that a wave of smut has infiltrated his school.
Oh dear. So young.
I've looked into this on my own, in an unofficial capacity, before reporting anything to my department, and I found, unofficially, that it's a problem plaguing other schools as well, all over the township.
Where's it coming from, Jack?
Right here, in Waterford.
I don't need to ask how you know that. I think I can guess.
You'd be right. I took my findings into my captain, every last bit. We then rounded up every schoolyard poster we could find.
You mean you'd arrested children?
Not exactly, ma'am. With youth, we don't arrest. Not exactly, anyway. We try to handle things a little more leniently, if we can. We're not after the pushers, anyway. We want the guys who are creating this filth. The pushers are the end of the line. They were our means of finding the next step up the ladder. That was all. In stopping them, we also stopped, temporarily, the influx of smut onto the playgrounds.
Temporarily, you mean?
Right back out there, almost the very next day.
Using kids too. It's almost unbelievable.
Trust me, ma'am, it's believable. I've seen the evidence with my own eyes.
So why? Oh, Elmer, don't. I don't even want to think about you.
What can we do to help, Jack?
The department is handling things, legally, as well as any possibly could. We're second to none. We'll get the guys who are creating this stuff, and we'll nail them 6 ways from Sunday, both ways. What I need from you, Bunsen, Glee, Elmer, and Orville, whenever he's able to help again.
That might be a while, Jack. He's still not regaining consciousness. Flora will leave that.
Understood. His help would be invaluable, but under the circumstances, we'll do our best, won't we?
You bet we will. But how exactly?
The other end of the problem, the consumer.
Yeah. I see. At least I think I do.
Well, I don't. How can we help what people do with their money?
What people want to do with their money, son. We've got to reach the kids, and in turn, their parents. We've got to reach their minds. We've got to reach their hearts, their souls if possible. Something has gone wrong in our generation. The last generation, too. Somehow it's now seen as okay to have this smut around the house. In one's life. You see it everywhere. On TV, in commercials. Going to the store, you see it in how people are dressed and in how they walk. Seeing it in a magazine or a picture isn't a shock anymore. It's most normal. We've got to do something about it. We've got to reach these kids. We've got to reach their parents and let them know that viewing this smut for fun, for pleasure, having it around isn't without consequence. When those consequences come into being, the police are not the solution to the problem as so many think we are. The parents are. But it just so happens the parents are a huge part of the problem itself. It's a problem like a pretzel. It just sits and rots because nobody has the guts to pick it up and throw it away like they should. It sits and rots and festers in the public view. But not anymore. This time it's gone too far. It's in our backyard now, and we've got to do something about it. All of us. We reach the kids. We strip the base. Then someday, these kids will grow up and this stuff won't sell to a new generation. It might be a long wait, but it will be a wait that's worth it. At least to me.
To me as well.
Sign me up, Jack. I'm all in too. Just tell me what I can do.
Before any of us can do anything, you need to see what you're up against.
Movie time?
He's been hanging around Orville a lot, hasn't he?
I've been trying to keep that time to a minimum, but...
Well, hopefully, he's picked up some of the captain's good qualities as well. We'll need them until he's back with us.
He showed me how to hotwire a space cruiser in under 30 seconds, so it will be strong enough to tow small moons out of orbit.
Elmer,
I'm going to have a talk with the captain one of these days.
you and me both. For goodness sake, the things he teaches that kid.
Anyway, yes son, movie time. Or TV time anyway. We're going to take a break from the flicks for this week and go back to one of Bunsen's favorite eras, television.
You mean the 50s?
You got it, kid.
Excellent. I haven't seen anything from then since it was there live. Or, well, most of it live. And I was a little girl.
Nostalgia will have to fill all the goodness this has to offer. The subject matter will drag spirits back down pretty quick. It's about our subject at hand. When smut gets into schools.
Let's have it, Jack.
Computer, Mark 7, Q1.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
This is the city. Los Angeles, California. I work here. I'm a cop. It was Wednesday, November 4th. It was windy in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of Juvenile Division. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Powers. My name's Friday. A steady supply of obscene literature had been finding its way into half a dozen high schools in the city. We'd gotten a lead on one of the sources of supply, a 17-year-old high school senior. We had to check it out.
There you are. You can see for yourself.
All right, you want to take everything out and lay it on the bench here?
You can see what's in there, can't you? My gym stuff, couple of textbooks.
What's that back there in the corner, right-hand side?
Where?
You know where I mean. Dig it out.
Oh, back here, you mean these joke books?
That's right. Let's have a look, huh?
Why? Just a couple of joke books. A kid gave them to me.
Bring them out, Steve.
Okay. Just a couple of them. A kid gave them to me. Here.
There's more than a couple there.
That's what you call a joke book, Steve.
Oh, well, that's what the kids call them. They're not so bad, though.
They're rotten, Steve, and you know it. Now, where'd you get them?
I told you, a kid gave them to me.
Who? What's his name?
Some kid around school. I don't remember right now.
He gave you these books for nothing?
Sure, I had a couple he wanted. We traded off. A lot of the kids have them. We trade them around.
That stack you got there, they look pretty new. They couldn't have been passed around much.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Matter of fact, they look brand new to me. Don't even look like they've been opened yet.
How come you're roasting me on this thing? What about the other kids? They got them, too.
They're buying them, Steve. They're not selling them.
I'm not selling them. Anybody says that's a liar.
Now, both the fellows in the high school and the kids down the street in the junior high, they say you've been selling this stuff for months. Now, how about it?
They're lying, that's all. They don't know what they're talking about.
You've been selling these 35 cents a piece, 3 for $1. Last couple of weeks, you've been peddling pictures, $2 a piece. Any of them in your locker, Steve?
Couple. I got them off another kid.
What other kid? What's his name? Come on, what's his name?
Some kid. I don't remember.
That's not much of an answer, son.
What do you want from me anyway? I told you I'm not selling the books. I don't care what those other goofs say. My word against theirs.
Maybe you ought to get this much straight, son. We're not out to get you. You're way down the line. We want the people at the top, the men who print this junk, the wholesalers, the big distributors.
So why ask me? I don't know anything about it. Nothing.
You don't want to cooperate, is that it?
What am I supposed to cooperate about? I'm not mixed up in anything.
We think you are, son. We know you are. Now, who you selling this for? Where do you get your supply?
All you see is what's in my locker. I ain't selling. I don't have any supply. We've got to go far to prove I have.
No, not very far, Steve.
What?
From about here to your home. 11:38 a.m. We picked up the supply of obscene books and photographs to be booked later as evidence. For weeks, we'd known that a steady stream of this type of material was being fed into half a dozen high schools and junior high schools throughout the city. Books, photographs, pictures, and pamphlets of the worst kind. 12:15 p.m. Frank and I drove the suspect, Stephen Banner, to his home, approximately a mile from the high school. On the way, he told us he lived with his sister and brother-in-law. We checked the house thoroughly, but we found nothing. He explained that both his sister and brother-in-law were at work. We went back to check the garage at the rear of the house. All right, how about it, son? You want to show us where the rest of the stuff is now?
What's the use? I guess you'll find it anyway. Right there. Books.
Cases of them.
Pictures.
Filthy. How about it, son? Your sister and brother-in-law know anything about this?
No, they don't know anything.
All right, you ready to tell us about it?
My sister gonna have to find out?
I don't know, Steve. It's going to be pretty hard to keep it from her.
Yeah, I guess so.
Who's the contact, son? Where'd they come from?
Charlie Hopkins. Only the books, though. Pictures came from another guy. It's a long story.
We got the time, son. Who's this Hopkins?
I met him downtown one Sunday. Penny Arcade on Broadway. Me and this other kid were in there, Bud Spencer. Hopkins came up, started to talk to us.
All right, go ahead, son.
He asked me and Bud if we wanted to sell for him around school.
This friend of yours, Bud Spencer, is he sell them too?
Yeah. He goes to a different school, though. Well, both of us did pretty good with the books. Sold real fast. The pictures were even better.
That's so. Now, you say you didn't get the pictures from Hopkins. It was somebody else?
Man by the name of Jack. I don't know his last name. Hopkins put us on to him, gave us an introduction, set up the deal. We got the pictures for 75 cents. Most of the time, they'd bring us $1, $1.50 a piece. Bud and I did pretty good.
You know any other fellows working for this Hopkins? Any other kids in school, I mean?
No, just Bud and me. That's all I know. Wouldn't be so bad if it was just the books. And lousy Charlie had to go and promote the party routine, get everybody mixed up in that.
How do you mean? What's that all about?
Charlie stays out at this place on Sepulveda. It's a motel. That's where we always contacted him.
Yeah.
After a couple of weeks, when we got to know him, he asked me and Bud out to this place. He said he was going to throw a party. Told us to bring our girlfriends along. Turned out we were the only ones at the party. Me and Bud and the girls and Charlie Hopkins. Well, the party lasted pretty late. I should have been smart enough to figure it out. I wasn't.
How old are your girlfriends, yours and Bud's?
17. They're both 17. They've been around, though. There's no use kidding you. They weren't very smart, I can tell you that. None of us were, I guess. Next couple of parties, Charlie had whiskey there. Dumb girls drank right along with him. So did we.
Does he still throw these Friday night parties, do you know?
Maybe, I don't know. I heard there were a couple after the last one I walked out on. Dumb girls think Charlie's just great. That's why I can't stand the guy.
Now, how about the parties that you didn't go to, Steve? Did you get a rundown on them?
No. Never fails, does it?
What do you mean?
The oldest line in the world, and they still go for it.
Yeah, what's that?
Tell them you're going to get them in the movies.
1:20 p.m. Frank and I took the cases of obscene books and pictures from the garage, loaded them into the back seat of our car, and Stephen Banner directed us to the high school attended by his friend, Bud Spencer. We picked up the Spencer boy and drove him and Banner downtown to Juvenile Division, where we booked them in on 700B, Welfare and Institutions Code, lack of supervision. We drove to the address out on Sepulveda, but the suspect, Charles Hopkins, had moved out 5 days before. No forwarding address. It wasn't a dead end, though. From his registration card, we got the description and license number of his car. We checked out the address of his confederate, the man known as Jack. He'd moved the same day as Hopkins. No forwarding address. We called DMV and got a make on the license number. The car was registered in Hopkins' name, 293.5 North 92nd Street. Frank had gone over to R&I and pulled the package on the suspect. 3:40 p.m.
Last address on him's 3 years old.
Well, how's his record read here?
Well, he's been in business before. A couple of ag charges and a 502.
I see. Served 8 months in the county jail. I got a mug shot here.
Yeah,
Yeah, It's close enough to the way the boy described him, isn't it?
I'd say so. His MO, too.
Yeah.
Same pitch the last time they got him, working the high school trade. Passed himself off as a studio man, movie producer.
Yeah. How about the other man, Jack? We got anything there?
Not yet.
Did you give the information on him to the stats office? They're going to make a run?
They will.
Okay, that's good. Well, I guess we better check on the kids' girlfriends, huh, and get their stories.
Yeah, I suppose so. Sure gets me, Joe.
What's that?
Pair of young girls like that out at parties till 3 a.m. drinking.
Yeah,
17-year-olds. No reason for it. No reason at all.
I can think of one that might do.
Yeah.
Their parents. A check of the suspect's address furnished us by DMV and also the information from the R&I package led us nowhere. We had a second interview with Stephen Banner and his friend Bud Spencer. We showed them Hopkins' mugshot and both of them identified it. We got out a broadcast and an APB on him. 4:12 p.m. Together with policewoman Noreen Statesel, Frank and I drove out to interview the two teenage girls involved, a Dorothy Ryan and a Laura Osborne. We stopped at the home of the Osborne girl first, but she wasn't there, and neither were her parents. An older sister told us that both the mother and father were working, and that Laura was at a neighborhood school for models, taking her weekly lesson.
When's the last time you saw Hopkins?
About 10 days. 2 weeks ago. What's this all about, officer? You looking for Charlie?
How's he usually contact you, by phone?
Yeah, he usually calls.
He called you lately?
Well, I don't know. Why are you looking for him? Can't you tell me?
Routine investigation, miss.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know where Charlie is. Why can't you tell me why you want him?
We want him.
Well, why? Can't you give me a reason?
This is one of the reasons, Laura. Would you look at this picture?
Charlie took this?
That's his business. That's the way his police record reads.
I can't believe it. He was nice. He didn't seem that kind.
Now, that's one reason we want Hopkins. There's lots of others. You willing to help us now?
He said they'd be beautiful, glamorous. They're not.
You know where he stays now?
No, I'll find out, though.
How do you mean?
I got a date with him. Supposed to meet him out on Wilshire and La Brea.
When's that?
8 o'clock tomorrow night.
The following morning, Frank and I went across the street to the district attorney's office and presented our case. A warrant was issued on Charles Hopkins for 702 WIC, contributing to the delinquency of a minor. At 7:45 that night, Frank and I staked out on a cocktail lounge near the intersection of Wilshire and La Brea, the place where the suspect had told Laura Osborne to meet him. 8:15, 8:30.
Joe. Down at the corner heading this way.
Yeah, it could be him.
Yeah, dark glasses.
Yeah, that's him. Come on. Just a minute, fella.
How's that?
Police officers. Your name Hopkins?
No, that's not my name.
Can we see your identification, please?
Sure, I have my identification. Why?
Can we see it, please?
What do you want?
Your identification.
What for? I haven't done anything.
All right, mister, we'll talk about it downtown.
Now, wait a minute. I don't want any trouble. I'll show you. There. See? My driver's license.
Take it out of your wallet, will you, please?
Certainly.
Charles Hopkins. That's an old address, isn't it?
Yeah? Haven't had time to change it. Just got back in town. What's the matter, anyway?
Where you staying, Hopkins?
No place. I just got back in town. I told you that. Not staying any place. No connections at all.
Where's your car?
Don't have one. Haven't had one for a year. Sold it. Say, would you mind filling me in? What do you want with me, anyway?
All right, Hopkins. Let's go over here out of the way for a minute.
Okay. Just want to know what's going on, that's all.
I'd like to see what you got in your pockets. Take everything out.
What is it, a shakedown?
You start with your wallet.
All right.
Put down the seat.
There, okay.
Now your pockets.
There, okay.
You said you don't have a car. Is that right, Hopkins?
No, of course not. I told you that.
Then what are you doing with this parking ticket? "8:55 p.m. Frank and I finally located Hopkins' car in a parking lot 2 blocks away from the point where we apprehended him. In the glove compartment of the car, besides a half a dozen photographs and small books, we found a key with a metal disc attached. Stamped on the disc were the words, West Side Studios, number 23. Hopkins refused to identify it. He refused to admit a thing. He was booked into the county jail on the contributing warrant. The next afternoon at 5:30 p.m., we drove out to the old West Side Studios just off Jefferson Boulevard. On the way, we tried to again question the suspect, but we got nowhere. One look at the old West Side Studios, and you knew right away it had seen better days. The place had been fairly prominent back in the early days of silent pictures, but all that was left now was 3 square miles of broken-down scenery. The faded sign over the main gate read West Side Studios, founded 1920, admission by pass only. Hopkins unlocked the gate, and we drove onto the lot. The place was deserted. The sun had almost gone down. It was a cold wind from the north. Hopkins directed us to pull up and park.
We can go on foot from here. Come on, this way.
You run an office here? Is that it, Hopkins?
No, sir, I do not. I live here.
You in some kind of movie work?
Have been for 30 years. More than 30 years.
That so? You an actor?
Hopkins. Haven't you ever heard the name? I'm a producer.
Oh, I see.
Why didn't you tell us that to start with?
Oh, I don't know. Different reasons. I didn't want to throw my weight around. I have a lot of connections in Hollywood, you know.
That's so.
In the trade 30 years. I was one of the first. You can make a lot of friends in 30 years.
How about the books and pictures we found in your car? How do you explain it?
Come on over here. I'll show you boys something you never saw in your life before. You got a cigarette? Before I show you this, I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah, what's that?
This studio will be back on its feet in a year. I'll bet $1,000 on it. This whole block here, sound stages. I got plans for them in my desk.
That's so. You have an interest in this lot, do you?
Not exactly. Not right now, anyway. I did have an interest, though. I will again. I was one of the original owners, you know.
Is that right?
Me and 5 other men. We were the top people in Hollywood when we opened West Side. I was a young fellow at the time. We made pictures, mister. Great pictures. Not like today. It's changed. It's all gone now.
What have you been doing lately, Hopkins? I mean, what do you do for a living?
Different things. I have a few investments, private income. I made money with West Side. That's when the town was really turning out pictures. I made big money.
What are you doing today?
I told you, different things. Crows. We have a lot of them out here. They like to nest in those eucalyptus trees over there. Nice sound, isn't it?
Now, look, we still haven't got an explanation. How about the books and pictures that we found in your car?
Oh, that? Nothing to explain, is there? Just a few gimmicks I picked up.
You know a boy by the name of Steve Banner?
Banner? No, I don't think so, huh?
How about Bud Spencer? You know him?
No, I knew a George Spencer once. Actor. That was back in the old days, though.
How about Laura Osborne, Dorothy Ryan? Do you know them?
No, it's pretty hard to say, you know, Sergeant. Over the years, in this business especially, you meet an awful lot of people.
Yeah, well, these are fairly recent. You ought to remember them. They're just kids, 17-year-olds.
No, I'm afraid I can't recall the names. You know, we might go into television here. I don't know. Television films. Trouble is, they make them too fast. Trade's not like it used to be. Quality, that's what we went after. It's all gone now. It's all gone. West Side will do it again, though. You can bet on that. We're coming back.
How about Leveling, Hopkins? You know why we picked you up. You know why we're out here.
That's just it. I don't know. This way. How about it, officer? You remember this one?
Don't believe I do.
Well, no offense. You were in knee pants when I shot my westerns here. Great stories. One of them was the greatest of all.
Is that right?
Greatest of them all, Thunder on the Trail. That's what we called it. We shot the big scene for it right on this street. That was almost 30 years ago. Doesn't seem that long. Just like yesterday.
Yeah?
Conway Blackburn was my director for that one. Big Clyde Harrison was the star. Always called him Big Clyde. Didn't look too strong, but he had arms like steel. You know, that man could lift an engine right out of an automobile with his two hands. Powerful.
That's so.
And how he could handle a horse. Ride like the wind, old Clyde. Never looked better in his life than he did that day. I was there. I know.
Is that right?
Thunder on the Trail. Shot the final big scene right on this street. Great thrill, officers. One of those things that happens once in a lifetime. Never forget it. Now, this here was the town. See what I mean? Frontier settlement. Rough as they come. It's where the Kelsey gang was hanging out. Real bunch of killers. Just in the picture, I mean.
Uh-huh.
And single-handed, Big Clyde came into town to take on the leader. That was Tim Kelsey. He'd killed Clyde's brother, and Clyde was out for revenge. He should have been here to see it. It was Saturday night. The town was wide open, going full blast. Over in the Palace Hotel, they were betting 10 to 1 that Clyde would never make it. And right across the street, there in the Silver Dollar, Kelsey's gang was setting up drinks on the house. They felt that sure of themselves. The town was swarming with people. And I was standing right there with Connie, the director, right behind the camera. Right next to us, we had the orchestra. You know, 3 pieces. We had to have the orchestra to get the actors in the mood.
I see.
Yes, sir. There it was, all ready to go. 1,000 extras. It was all set. The big scene. Connie gave the sign to the orchestra. That's it, boys. Keep it bright. Connie looked around just to check once more to see that everything was all right. And he picked up the megaphone. All righty, everybody. Places, everybody. All right. Camera. Action. All right, Clyde. There he came, riding into town. Big Clyde. Way up from the end of the street. Came right straight through the town. Past the telegraph office, past the general store, riding straight toward the Silver Dollar. Yeah, a little slower, Clyde. A little slower. That's it. Now head straight for us. Right up to the hitching post there. Good boy, Clyde. Now he dismounts. Tethers his horse, Golden Fury. Now he turns, looks around him, and he starts straight for the swinging doors. Look grim, Clyde. That's it. A little more. Set your jaw. Good. Now, right through the doors. Hit him hard. There he goes. The whole Kelsey gang in there ready to kill him. There's no reaction for a few seconds. And all of a sudden it gets quiet. Dead quiet. Tim Kelsey looks up from the bar. He sees Clyde. All right, now, throw that lamp. Smash it! Then the fight starts. Tremendous fight. No holds barred. One end of the room to the other. Finally, they crash through the swinging doors, the two of them. Tim Kelsey, Clyde, wrestling, slugging, kicking, punching each other. Kelsey goes down. Then Clyde. Then Kelsey. Clyde goes down. Then Kelsey, one of the gang standing by over the Palace Hotel. He draws his gun. Look out, Clyde! Fires twice, 3 times. Clyde hits the shoulder. Kelsey takes aim to finish him off. Clyde whips out his gun from his holster and fires twice. Once more. Kelsey stops short. Dead. The other man staggers a little bit, doubles up, crumples, falls down the stairs into the dirt. Clyde starts to get up. One of the gang in the saloon takes a beat on him. Clyde whirls and fires. Good boy, Clyde. Good. Now, slowly. Over to your horse. Slowly. That's it. Put your arm around his neck. He nuzzles you a little. Now back in the saddle. Slow. Deliberate. You're wounded. It hurts, Clyde. Now you turn. Look off down the street. You start to soften. You see the schoolmarm, Gladys, your sweetheart. That's it. Warmer. Good. Now you go to her, boy. Go to her. Now, pick her up and put her on Golden Fury with you. That's it. There he goes. Beautiful. Beautiful. The two of them riding toward the hills. Riding off together. Cut it. Print it. That's just the way it was. Yes, sir. I stood here and saw it. They don't make pictures like that anymore.
Yeah. How about it, Hopkins? You want to tell us now?
What is there to tell?
You've been working the school trade, haven't you? Books, pictures, hiring kids like Steve Banner, Bud Spencer.
Yeah. I'm ashamed. Who wouldn't be? I had to eat. It was the only way. I had to live.
Yeah, well, there's still honest jobs to be had. No way of telling how many youngsters you hurt by spreading that junk around. No way of adding up the trouble you caused.
Yes, I know I was wrong. I'm sorry for that.
How about this man named Jack? What was his part?
He was in with me. He used to be my cameraman back in the old days. Same thing. I can't blame him either. He had to live, too.
Where do you keep the stuff?
I'll show you.
All right. You ready to go?
Yes. Kind of a long walk. Would you like to read the trade papers on the way?
Yesterday's.
On January 29th, trial was held in Division 87 Municipal Court, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. The suspect was tried and convicted of violation of Section 311 of the California Penal Code, manufacturing and distributing obscene literature. His accomplice, Jack Lavery, was apprehended and tried and convicted of the same charges. Violation of Section 311 PC is punishable by imprisonment in the county jail for a period not to exceed 6 months, or by a fine of $500, or both.
first to smuck kids into the schools. The kids see it. They don't see any consequences around it. It's a gift to them, one without any repercussions. It's an act. It's something that gets repeated time and again. After enough time passes, they grow up thinking that other forms of sexual involvement are just as safe and innocent a pastime, without consequences, engaged in as easily as looking at a picture. The pictures they saw when they were young. Only they aren't young anymore. They are young adults. Or adults, with the responsibilities of adulthood. They engage in adult acts with juvenile mindsets, often with tragic results. All because of what's starting here. Now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
This is the city. 4 million people. There's something for everybody. Houses to live in. Places to work. Places to relax. Churches to pray in. Most of them enjoy life and they try to hold on to it. A few of them have lost their grip. In my job, I get to know them all. I'm a cop. It was Monday, August 12th. We were working the day watch out of Juvenile Division. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Stein. My name's Friday. We'd gotten a call that a 7-week-old baby had been abandoned in a bus terminal. There was no sign of the mother, no lead to her whereabouts. We had to find her.
Yes, that's right.
Police officers, ma'am. My name's Friday. This is my partner, Frank Smith, Juvenile Division.
What's your name, ma'am?
Mrs. Lewis. I'm certainly glad you're here. I've been waiting around the steeple for hours. I don't know what to do.
That's a good baby. Why don't you go to sleep now? Go on. Close your eyes and go to sleep.
Poor little thing. It's a shame.
Yes, ma'am. The report we got didn't go into details. Some woman left the baby with you, is that it?
Yes, as soon as we got off the bus this morning. She said she'd only be gone a few minutes. It's been hours. I don't know what to do.
Did you know the woman, Ms. Lewis?
Her name's Dorothy Miller. She's from Arizona. Tucson. We got off the bus, and she asked me if I'd hold her baby while she went to get her luggage. She said she'd meet me right there by the information desk. I've been waiting ever since. She hasn't come back. I don't know what to think.
How well did you know this Dorothy Miller, ma'am?
Well, not too well, but she seemed like such a nice girl, friendly, very sociable. We sat together all the way in.
Mm-hmm. You got on the bus with her at Tucson, is that it?
Oh, no. I'm from Cincinnati. I got on a bus there and then went down to Dallas. I had a visit with an aunt of mine down there.
Oh, I see.
I got another bus in Dallas to come out here. Went along the southern route. Very nice. The same bus I came in on this morning. I'm out here to meet my husband, Army man. He's coming in on a transport from overseas. He's coming in tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Now, you say this Dorothy Miller boarded the bus at Tucson with the baby. She rode all the way into Los Angeles with you, is that right?
Yes, right into the steeple. She sat in the seat next to mine. We struck up a conversation, got to be quite good friends. Such a cute baby, I just can't imagine.
Now, how about her description, Ms. Lewis? Anything unusual there?
No, I wouldn't say so. A small girl, 5'3" or 4", I'd say, 110 or 15 pounds. Red hair, shoulder length, dark eyes, nice complexion, very pretty eyes.
About how old would you say?
20. That's what she told me anyway. She said she had a birthday in May. I remember we talked about that. She was born under the same sign I was, Taurus the Bull.
Mm-hmm. And in all the talk she had with the Miller girl, she never gave you any reason to think that anything was wrong with her. She didn't seem to be despondent or depressed about it.
Perfectly normal girl, as far as I could tell. I just can't get over it. I can't imagine her doing anything like this.
You checked around the depot, did you? You had her paged?
I talked to everyone in the place. The porters, ticket clerks, information desk, traveler's aid. Not one of them could help. I tried everybody. There. It's all right. We'll find your mother. You try and sleep. Sleep somewhere. It's wonderful. It's just adorable. It's a little boy. She said his name's Stephen.
Yes, ma'am.
Her own baby, so small and helpless. How could she go off and leave him?
Well, I guess she had a reason. It must have been important.
A 7-week-old baby, your own? What's more important than that?
Before we left the bus depot, Frank contacted the clerk at the depot information desk and left our card with him. If anyone came in to make inquiries about the abandoned child, he was to advise them to get in touch with us. 11:48 a.m. The woman the baby had been left with, Mrs. Marjorie Lewis, agreed to return to the office and give us a complete report on everything she knew about the case. As soon as we got back, we briefed Captain Stein on what had happened, and he assigned policewoman Betty Stone to come in and help out with the baby. A cursory examination seemed to indicate there was nothing abnormal about the baby, no apparent deformities. We checked the blanket and the baby's clothing, but we found no identifying marks of any use to us. Policewoman Stone made the baby comfortable for the time being, and then she began to check through the contents of the small valise which the baby's mother had left with Mrs. Lewis. It contained the usual assortment: baby oil, powder, dextrose, a few cans of milk, a couple of blankets, and a supply of diapers. Frank and I continued to interview Mrs. Lewis.
Is this the Miller woman's first baby, do you know, or did she happen to mention?
Yes, it's her first. That's what she told me anyway.
Did you talk about the baby's health at all? Was there any trouble there?
Well, she did say she had some trouble with the formula at first. It didn't seem to suit the baby. It wasn't anything serious, though. Matter of fact, that does worry me a little bit, Sergeant.
What's that?
The baby's formula. Mrs. Miller did say it had to be fixed a special way. Some special medicine she put in it, too. Are you sure the baby's going to get good care?
Yes, ma'am. No need to worry. He'll be moved to the general hospital. They'll look after him.
Frankly, I can't help but feel a little guilty about all this.
What do you mean, Mrs. Lewis?
I mean, turning the baby over to you. It'll probably be put in some kind of an orphan's home. I can't help but think that maybe the Miller girl picked me out. She had to give the baby away, and she wanted me to have him. Then I turn around and hand him over to the police. It does make me feel a little guilty. She probably expected more of me.
There's no need to feel like that, ma'am. It's not your responsibility.
I suppose not, but I just can't help feeling that way, running out on a little baby like that, leaving him alone.
You wouldn't be in a position to take care of him anyway, would you?
No, I suppose not. I'd have to talk to my husband first. He'll be in tomorrow from overseas. We'll be back to the same old life again, living in hotels. No, I guess it wouldn't work even if they'd let me adopt him. Gets me down sometimes. I've always liked children.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Lewis. We appreciate your cooperation, everything you've done here.
Not at all, Sergeant. I only wish I could be more help.
Would you mind telling us where you'll be stopping in town, ma'am? It's possible we might want to contact you again.
Well, I don't have any reservations. I was thinking of staying at a hotel close to downtown.
Well, there's a big convention going on in town now, Ms. Lewis. Most of the places are pretty crowded. We'd be glad to help you find hotel space if you like.
Oh, well, that's certainly very nice of you. Sergeant Friday, could I see you a minute, please?
Yeah, sure. Excuse me. Yeah, Betty?
For a policewoman, I'm not bad at changing diapers.
What do you mean?
Right here, the valise the mother left with Mrs. Lewis.
Did you come up with anything?
I didn't think so at first. I went over the valise, everything inside, nothing. Then I started putting the things back in the bag. I found this in the stack of diapers right there. Paid receipt for a hospital bill, maternity ward.
Santa Maria Hospital, Tucson, Arizona.
Well, there's the patient's name right there at the top.
Dorothy Miller. 12:30 p.m. A local broadcast and an APB were gotten out on Dorothy Miller. Then we sent a communication to the Tucson Police Department laying out the story for them and asking them to check with the Santa Maria Hospital there for a possible lead on the missing mother. Meantime, the baby was removed to the general hospital. We found accommodations for Mrs. Lewis in a downtown hotel. We dropped her off there, and then we drove back to the bus depot on 6th Street. We tried to locate the driver of the bus on which the Miller woman and her baby had arrived that morning. We were told he was off duty and that he wouldn't report back in until 8 o'clock the following morning. We left our card along with a message for the driver asking him to contact us as soon as he returned. For the rest of the afternoon, Frank and I, along with 2 other men from Juvenile Division, checked with all the bus depot personnel, but we were unable to turn up any kind of a lead. After that, we started making the rounds of the hotels, bars, restaurants, and taxicab stands in the neighborhood. The same results, nothing. 7:55 a.m. the following morning, I reported back in for work.
Good morning, Joe.
Oh, hi, Betty. Frank check in yet?
Yeah, I went out for a minute, said he'd be right back.
What do you know? Anything new?
Communication for you from the Tucson PD. Kickback on that query you got off to them yesterday.
You see this?
Yeah, confirms the fact the woman had her baby in that hospital. Still not much help, though.
Yeah, I see. We checked out her last known address in Tucson. She moved. No forwarding address, no line on her friends or relatives.
Well, the day the baby was born seems to check out.
Yeah, June 24th. Makes the baby just about 7 weeks old. This part doesn't make much sense, though.
The Miller girl's description?
Yeah, Ms. Lewis said Dorothy Miller was small and dark. Long red hair, dark eyes. People at the hospital describe her as being fairly tall. Blue eyes, short brown hair, about 29 or 30 years old.
Mrs. Lewis said the Miller girl just turned 20, didn't she?
Yeah. Sure doesn't figure, does it?
A little too much to write off as coincidence. Two Dorothy Millers having babies, same day, same hospital.
I just happened to think, this description of the Miller girl.
Uh-huh.
Fairly tall, short brown hair. Ms. Lewis has short brown hair, hasn't she?
Hi, Joe.
Morning, Frank.
You know that bus driver we wanted to talk to, the one that drove the bus the Dorothy Miller and the baby came in on yesterday?
Yeah.
Well, he came up to see us. He's in the next room. I've been talking to him.
Mm-hmm. You saw this answer from Tucson.
Yeah. I think we got the tie-in.
How's that?
That description Mrs. Lewis gave us of Dorothy Miller. The driver doesn't remember anyone like that on his bus. He remembered Mrs. Lewis, though. She didn't get on the bus at Dallas. She didn't sit next to a young girl with a baby either. Driver says he's sure of it.
Well, then what's the pitch?
Mrs. Lewis got on the bus at Tucson. She had a baby in her arms.
8:35 a.m. Frank Smith and I continued to interview the bus driver, the same man who'd been driving the bus on which Mrs. Lewis and the abandoned baby and his mother supposedly had arrived in Los Angeles the day before. The more we talked to the driver, the more he convinced us that the story we'd gotten from Mrs. Marjorie Lewis was a long way from the truth. He repeated that he was absolutely sure that Mrs. Lewis did not get on the bus at Dallas, that she boarded the bus at Tucson, and at the time she got on, she was holding a baby in her arms. He was just as positive that Mrs. Lewis held the baby in her arms all the way into Los Angeles, and that she did not sit next to a young red-haired girl, but an elderly woman. He also told us that none of his passengers on that particular trip fitted the description of Dorothy Miller as given us by Mrs. Lewis. 8:50 a.m. Before the bus driver left, we got his address and a phone number where we could get in touch with him if necessary. 9:05 a.m. Frank and I got in the car, drove to the downtown hotel where Mrs. Lewis was staying. She told us that her husband, Army Captain Walter Lewis, had arrived in from overseas earlier that morning and checked in at the hotel, that he was downstairs in the hotel barber shop.
That's quite a parade they're having down there.
Yes, ma'am.
How's the baby? Are they taking care of him? Is he all right?
Yes, ma'am. We checked with the hospital. He's doing fine.
Oh, I'm glad. And the Miller girl, Dorothy Miller, did you find out anything?
We haven't been able to locate her. No trace of her at all. That's why we're here, Mrs. Lewis. There are a few things we'd like to have you straighten out for us.
Well, I'll be glad to do anything I can to help. I think I already told you everything I know about the girl.
We'll be honest with you, Ms. Lewis. We don't think you're telling us the truth.
What? I don't understand.
We talked to the man who was driving the bus she came in on yesterday, the same bus you say Dorothy Miller and her baby were on.
Yes, that's right.
Well, the bus driver couldn't remember the Miller girl, told us none of his passengers even came close to her description.
Well, there were quite a few people on the bus. I guess you can't blame him for not remembering her.
He remembered you, Mrs. Lewis. You were sitting near the front of the bus. He doesn't remember anyone with a baby sitting next to you, though.
I guess he made a mistake. He can't remember everything.
He said you were holding the baby.
I don't understand this. What is it you're trying to find out?
When we talked to you yesterday, you told us that you got on the bus at Dallas, isn't that right?
Yes, what would that have to do with it?
Well, the bus driver says you got on at Tucson. He seemed to remember it pretty well. Says when you got on the bus, you were holding a baby in your arms.
Oh, that's silly. He's wrong. He must have me confused with somebody else.
I don't see how, ma'am. He says you were the only woman on the bus with a baby.
What's the point of this, Sergeant? I don't understand any of this.
Well, now, frankly, Ms. Lewis, neither do we. I don't know why you're lying to us about this, but apparently you are.
You're wrong. I'm not lying. It happened just the way I told you. The girl gave me the baby to hold, and then she disappeared. There's no reason for me to lie about that.
We found a receipt for a hospital bill in that valise with the baby's things in it. The receipt was made out to Dorothy Miller.
Well, that proves it, doesn't it? She was on the bus with me, and her baby was with her.
Check was made with the hospital at Tucson. They remembered the name Dorothy Miller. She gave birth to a baby boy about 7 weeks ago. She wasn't the same girl you described to us. Description wasn't even close.
Then it must be a mistake. I guess somebody made a mistake. I can't understand any of this.
They sent us back a description of the Dorothy Miller who stayed at the hospital. Fairly tall woman, short brown hair, about 29 or 30.
Yes?
Description fits you, Mrs. Lewis. Fits almost perfectly.
It's wrong. It has to be wrong. The whole thing's a mistake.
No, I don't think so, ma'am.
Why don't you tell me? What do you think? Tell me, please.
Well, there is no Dorothy Miller. There never was. There's no such person.
That's what you really think. I invented it? I made it all up?
Did you?
And the baby. What about him? If there's no Dorothy Miller, what about the baby?
I don't know. You want to tell us? Ms. Lewis?
Yes. Yes.
Mrs. Lewis, anything we can do?
Thank you, I'm all right. I suppose I knew it would happen sometime. I tried not to think about it.
Yeah?
I knew you'd found out. That's why you asked if my husband was with me, isn't it? You didn't want to embarrass me.
We wanted to give you a chance to tell your side of the story. We thought maybe you wanted to keep it from your husband.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I'll tell him. He'll be back in a few minutes. He can do anything he wants, and I won't blame him. He'll pack his bag and walk out and leave, and I won't blame him. Nobody will blame him.
You want to tell us about it?
I think you know. It's my baby. My own baby, and I couldn't keep him. There wasn't anything else to do. Nothing. My own baby.
You made up the whole story about the girl, Dorothy Miller. Her leaving the baby with you. Mrs. Lewis?
Well, now, you must have had a reason for it, Mrs. Lewis. Giving your baby away. You want to tell us about it?
It won't make any difference. It's done. It's all done. It's my husband I'm thinking about. Walter. I'm going to have to hurt him, and I don't want to hurt him. I don't know how I'm going to tell him.
Tell him what, ma'am?
I love him, Sergeant. I tried to explain. I didn't want to be alone. Having him away all the time, I knew there was going to be trouble. I knew it. I didn't want to be alone, and he didn't understand. He only said I was fooling.
Yes, ma'am.
He left for overseas in October, almost 2 years ago. I went down to Wilmington. I saw him leave on the boat. I stood there and watched him go. I wasn't going to see him. 24 months, I wouldn't see him. No children, no family, just a 2-room apartment. If he only believed me. If he only would have taken me with him.
Yes, ma'am.
I took it for a year. A whole year. A 2-room apartment, being alone. I wrote to Walter twice a week. It didn't do any good. He didn't want me with him a whole year. And it got too much.
You mean you could have joined him overseas? He didn't want you to.
I don't know why. I kept writing to him, and he kept letting me off a whole year. Got too much a 2-room apartment alone. You can't spend your life that way. I started going out. Having dates. I had to get out. I started going to parties. Different people. I guess I drank too much. I didn't want to be alone. I guess I always drank too much.
Yes, ma'am.
There was one party. I don't even remember who I went with. I guess I was drinking. I don't know. And I left. I don't even remember who I was with. It didn't have to be this way. It didn't have to happen like this.
Are you all right, Mrs. Lewis? There's something we can get for you?
No, I'm all right. I didn't know what to do when I found out. And saw the doctor. He didn't understand it either. I mean, the way I felt. He said the baby would be born in June. I cried. He didn't understand.
Yes, ma'am.
When the time came, I went to Tucson, Arizona. They had my baby. At least I wasn't alone. I used a different name at the hospital. Dorothy Miller. Maybe it wasn't Walter's baby. But it was mine. It was mine. But at first it wouldn't make any difference. But it did. Oh, it did.
So you figured on giving up the baby? Giving him away, is that it?
I can't tell you how many times I worked it out in my mind, day after day. I almost went crazy with it. Walter or the baby, which one? I finally decided, Walter. Don't you think it's fair? Don't you?
Well, it's your decision, ma'am. It's going to have to be up to you.
I don't know how to tell him. Won't you help me, please? Help me tell Walter.
All right, if you like.
Such a terrible thing. I mean, to make a choice. When you have to hurt someone. To have to choose between the two of them. One of them has to be hurt.
Ma'am?
My husband or my baby. Which one?
10:38 a.m. At Mrs. Lewis's request, Frank and I stayed on at the hotel room until her husband, Army Captain Walter Lewis, returned. He was a tall man in his late 30s, dark eyes, tan complexion. Mrs. Lewis was waiting in the adjoining room. It wasn't easy, but as best we could, Frank and I briefed the husband on what had happened. His first reaction was fairly normal. He took it pretty hard. We kept on talking to him. After a while, he calmed down. We laid out the whole story for him again.
Are you sure it was my wife?
Yes, sir.
She turned the baby over to the police, is that it? She gave the baby up?
Yes, sir. She figured it was the only thing she could do.
It's kind of hard to figure, isn't it? What's the answer? What am I supposed to do?
Well, I know it's none of our business, Captain, but I think you might try looking at it from your wife's point of view.
What do you mean?
Well, it's pretty obvious she's still in love with you. I think she's shown you that.
Yeah.
Well, she was in a jam. It was a big choice for her to make. She knew she was wrong. She made a mistake. She was ready to pay for it. It was either you or the baby. She knew that. She decided to give up the baby.
Where's Marge now, my wife?
In the next room.
I want to see her.
Well, maybe if you'd wait just a little while.
No, it's all right. I just want to tell her something. Marge? Marge, come out here. I want to talk to you.
What can I say, Walter? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There isn't anything else I can say.
You don't have to say anything, Marge.
You can do what you want. I won't blame you. You've got a right to do anything. I just want to tell you, Walter, I love you and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I won't blame you. Anything you do, I won't blame you.
It's going to be all right. Nothing to cry about here. Everything will be all right.
Walter.
Try and take it easy, dear. It was a mistake. I made my share of... It'll all work out. Officer?
Yes, sir?
I'd like to ask a favor. We got a car downstairs?
Yes, sir, we do.
I wonder if you'd mind dropping us by the hospital. I'd like to see my son.
On August 15th, a meeting was held in the District Attorney's Office, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that meeting. In the interests of justice, it was decided that no criminal complaint be filed against the suspect.
Jack, who are the ones mostly buying all this stuff?
Usually the ones who can least afford it. The poor kid spending his lunch money on dirty pictures.
And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain, and when he was set, his disciples came unto him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
What, Benson?
Just something along tonight's discussion I remember from long ago.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true.
This is the city. Los Angeles, California. I work here. I'm a cop. It was Wednesday, December 24th. We were working the day watch out of burglary division. The boss is Captain Bernard. My partner's Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
Hi, Joe. Hi. Christmas cards, huh? A little late, aren't you?
Well, I was going to send them out Monday, but we had that stakeout.
You ought to get married, Joe.
Yeah?
It's the only system. Faye does all that stuff for me. Laundry, mails, cards. Only system.
Might help.
You got a big stack there.
I ought to cut down the list. Look at this here. Upholstery shop.
Yeah?
They send me a card every year. I never get anything upholstered.
Faye and I ought to go over our list. Cut off a few names. I brought in your present. Want to open it now?
No, I'll wait.
I always open a couple a day before.
Why?
Well, put you in the spirit ahead of time. I opened Phil's this morning.
Who's he?
Faye's brother in Denver. Gave me a magazine, one of those funny ones.
What do you mean, a comic book?
No, one of those funny ones, you know.
No, I don't, Frank.
Well, some of the pages have holes in them. You look through and there's a picture on the next page.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those on the newsstand.
They have cloth pasted in.
Cloth?
In the ads. If you want to buy a suit, they have a sample right there.
You mean you can feel it?
Reach right out and feel it. There was one for $200.
The suit?
Sure. Cloth comes from Scotland.
What's it made out of? Solid gold?
No, they got a special kind of goat over there. It's real smooth.
Not a goat, Frank. A sheep.
Well, it's a special kind of sheep, then, because the suit costs $200.
You gonna get one?
I told Faye. She said, wear the sample. Anything doing?
Fanning and Pryor were in on that market holdup.
They come up with anything?
Pound of air, nothing else.
I hope it stays quiet. I got more shopping to do.
I finished.
What'd you get Ann?
Stationery set, some paper and envelopes, leather binding.
Joe, you'll never learn.
Oh, what's the matter?
No woman wants a stationery set. Get her something personal.
Well, it's got her initials on it.
No. You want something more sentimental, romantic.
What'd you get Faye?
It's different in her case.
What'd you get Faye?
Sewing machine.
That's romantic.
Well, it isn't a way.
Why didn't you buy her a catcher's mitt? Burglary Friday. Yes, that's right. You have the right department. All right, Father, we'll be right down. No, you can tell us about it there. Goodbye. The old mission church, they've had a theft.
Collection money?
Statue of the child Jesus. Frank and I checked out of the office and rode over to the church at the corner of Sunset Boulevard and Main Street, near the Union Station. It was an old church. It was there before there was a Union Station or trains to come into a station. The Padres from down in Mexico built it. The devout Mexicans in town still attended services there. 10:05 a.m. We asked for Father Xavier Rojas, who had communicated with us. We were told he was inside. We found Father Rojas up near the sanctuary. He told us about the crib. It was a $70 duplication of the scene at Bethlehem. The parishioners had taken up a collection for it 31 years ago. It was put up every year on December 22nd and taken down after the holy season. It was beautiful, except that one of the shepherds had lost an arm, a sheep was old and cracked, and the infant Jesus was missing.
I'm sorry to bother you, man.
All right, Father.
Especially now, the holiday season.
We cash our checks, Father. You want to tell us what happened?
Or what you think happened?
I discovered the statue was missing right after the 6 o'clock Mass.
You say the 6?
Yes. I started over to the rectory and stopped by the crib.
Was the statue there before Mass?
I don't know, but it was there last night.
How late is the church open?
All night.
You leave it wide open so any thief can walk in?
Particularly thieves, Sergeant.
You say it was there last night, Father. How late?
10 or 11 o'clock. We had confessions.
No one saw it after that?
One of the altar boys. He says it may have been there. He thinks it was.
Did he see it?
He's not sure.
What's his name?
Pardon me. Here's the schedule. You'll find the names for every Mass there.
Was there a big crowd at the 6 o'clock Mass, Father?
Not too many. 7's the big one. People on their way to work.
Did anyone stay after Mass, did you notice?
Not especially. I came back here, took off the vestments. I suppose it was 10 or 15 minutes before I went back in the church.
It was empty then?
No, people were coming in for the 7 o'clock.
Are these the altar boys, James Cornine and Joseph Heffernan?
That's right. Joe's the one who mentioned it might have been there.
Did you check with the other priests, Father?
Before I called you. None of them knows anything about it.
Just for a check on the pawn shops, how much is the statue worth?
In money?
Well, that's the point in pawn shops, Father.
Only a few dollars. We could get a new one, but it wouldn't be the same. We've had children in the parish. They've grown up and married. It's the only Jesus they know.
We understand.
And we've had children who died. It was the only Jesus they knew. So many of the people who come here are simple people. They wouldn't understand, Sergeant. It would be like changing the evening star.
We'll do our best, Father.
That's why it would mean so much to have it back for the first Mass on Christmas.
Not very long, Father.
Less than 24 hours.
If anything turns up here, you know where to get in touch with us.
Yes. It's sad, isn't it?
How's that?
In so short a time, men learn to steal.
Yes, but consider us, Father.
Us?
If some of them didn't, you and I'd be out of work. "10:50 a.m. We notified pawn shop detail. We gave them a description of the missing object, the time and the place of theft. few minutes later, Frank and I checked out the two altar boys. The first one, James Cornine, said that he knew nothing about it. After Mass, he'd gone out the sacristy door and come straight home for breakfast. The second one, Joseph Heffernan, was not at home. His father said he had a part-time job. He'd have him get in touch with us after lunch. By 11:30 a.m., we'd run out of book procedure. We had a man to find. Our only clue, he'd been to church. We're police officers. My name's Friday. This is my partner, Frank Smith.
Pleased to see you. Caught me in the middle of a big chess match.
Where's your partner?
Up in San Jose. We've been playing for years.
I see.
You know, we do it through the mail. I send him a move, he sends me one.
You Mr. Flavin?
How do you know? We never met.
Your name's on the window out front.
Mr. Flavin, we checked the other two religious stores in this neighborhood. They're closed.
This is the best one anyway. 50% European items.
We're checking the stores around the Mission Church.
For what?
Statue of the Child Jesus. Do you have one we could look at?
Sure.
No, sir, a larger one.
You don't want a larger one, unless it's for a church. That's where you want a larger one.
Could we see it, please?
It's not my due to butt in. But unless you live in a big place, this will make your living room all the kilter.
Yes, sir. Do most of the people who go to the Mission Church trade here?
Good many of them, especially the kids.
Why kids?
More religious. Check on yourself. See if kids aren't more religious than you.
Might be so.
That's what's wrong with the world. Oh, I don't mean you're wrong with it. Everybody.
Yes, sir. Wonder if we could stick to the point, Mr. Flavin.
Sure. A lot of people from the Mission Church come in here.
Do people ever come in and sell back a religious article?
Like a prayer book or rosaries?
Yes, sir.
Second-hand, you mean?
Yes, sir.
Not since I ever been around. It's silly.
Why?
People don't have religious articles so they can get rid of them. They have them so they can have them.
But if a man had a statue and wanted to sell it, he'd come to a place like this.
Sure, but he wouldn't want to sell it.
He would if it was stolen.
No, sir. If a man was to steal a statue, he'd be crazy or something like that. The only place he'd want to go is where crazy people are.
You may be right, Mr. Flavin.
I don't know what you fellas are looking for, but if it's somebody who stole a statue, he's crazy and you won't find him. You won't find him as long as you live, or in a million years.
That should cover it. We continued to check religious stores out as far as Van Ness. We asked the same questions. The owners gave us the same answers, but none of them were as encouraging as Mr. Flavin. Frank and I had lunch and reported back to the office. It was 1:30 p.m.
I just checked for you in the lunchroom.
And we've been down on that theft at the Mission.
May get some action on the Patterson case.
They locate him?
They think he's on the bus from Sacramento.
Well, that means the Bakersfield police.
We'll wait and see.
One of you fellas, Sergeant Friday?
He is.
I'm Joe Heffernan. My father said you wanted to see me.
Well, sit down, son. You didn't have to come in. A phone call would have worked.
My father said to get on over. He says that any kid that uses phones is lazy.
We want to ask you about this morning.
You serve 6 o'clock Mass?
Yes, sir. I'm senior boy, so I get the 6th.
You're a senior and you take the early trick?
Yes, sir. That way, if you receive communion, you get to have breakfast sooner.
Father Rojas says you think the statue was there before Mass.
I didn't look, but I have a feeling it was there.
A feeling?
You know, how you have a feeling about something, but you're not sure.
Did you stay around long after Mass?
I put out candles and hung up my surplice.
How long would that take?
About 5 minutes, maybe.
Did any of the people at Mass stay on?
Some always do, especially ladies.
Oh?
Maybe they don't finish in time, or else they start new prayers. I don't know.
So when you left, there were still some women there?
No, sir. That was at first. After I went back to the sacristy, there was only this one man.
What man?
He comes at 6 o'clock all the time.
Do you know his name?
No, sir. But he works down in Olive, you know, paint shop, where they paint signs.
Could you describe him?
Sort of medium. He was wearing a suit that didn't match.
Didn't match?
You know, different pants than coat.
How about his age?
Oh, he's pretty young.
Take a guess.
About 40, maybe. There's nothing particular about him.
Then why'd you notice him?
I've seen him before. And the bundle, I guess.
The bundle?
Out in front. I saw him when he was coming out. He had this bundle, and he almost dropped it.
How large a bundle?
It's hard to say.
Come on, son. Was it large or small? The size of the statue?
About that big. Yes, sir.
located the sign shop. The suspect didn't work there anymore, but we discovered his name was Claude Stroop. We found out where he lived. 2:25 p.m. We arrived there. It was a hotel for men, mostly old men, mostly down and outers. It was called the Golden Dream. Police officers. We're looking for Claude Stroop.
Hope Claude didn't get in any trouble.
So do we. Is he in?
No. He's got room 307. You can check if you like.
We'll take your word.
Were you on this morning?
Hmm?
Yeah, the early shift.
Well, we don't have shifts. My uncle owns the place. I'm the shift.
Did Stroop spend last night here?
Came in about 11.
When did he leave this morning?
Around 6, maybe before.
He come back after?
8 o'clock or so. Then left. Supposed to be back at 10. And pulls this trick.
What trick?
Our program. He knows the other fellas need him.
Program?
Here at the hotel. Every Christmas we have a program. Put up a tree and sing. They're mostly old fellas. Singing like that makes them remember back when they were kids. Then Jimmy Finn comes on.
Jimmy Finn?
He shares number 409. His family once had a lot of money, so he tells the fellas about it. Stories about Christmas. How they had this big log, and his grandfather used to start it up, and after dinner, everybody turned over his plate, and there underneath was a $20 gold piece. Brand new one.
When Stroop came in this morning, did he have a bundle?
I didn't see him come in.
You said you saw him.
I saw him go out after, but not come in.
When was that?
8. If you want to look for a bundle, I could give you his key.
We don't have a warrant.
It's all right. I know about police. It's all right with me.
It's not with us.
I didn't mean that. I just meant it was all right with me.
Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel. When the poor men came in sight, gathering winter fuel.
This is the last rehearsal. I got most of the songs down pat.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, that's why it's a shame Claude isn't here. He's tenor, and they need him to make it sound just right.
Does Stroop have a job?
No, sir. He used to have jobs. Not much lately, though.
Did he say where he was going?
No, he should have. The fellas need him.
When he comes in, will you call us?
Sure, and not say anything to him. Huh?
That's right.
I hope it's nothing serious for Claude. Fella's troubles ought to be over.
Troubles?
Way back. It wouldn't count now.
Tell us anyway.
Well, I don't know much about it.
As much as you know. Now, come on.
Well, something back where he used to live. He robbed somebody or something.
What else?
That's all. It was a long time ago, way far back. But he forgot it all, the robbing and everything.
No, not quite.
Hmm?
He remembered it this morning.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. For Jesus Christ our Savior was born upon this day to save us from...
We ran Claude Stroop's name through R&I. If he'd been booked anywhere, we had no record of it. At least not under that name. 4:15 p.m. Pawn shop detail reported back. Up until that time, no object resembling the statue of the child Jesus had been turned in.
Patterson's on that Sacramento bus.
I thought Bakersfield had it.
They were supposed to confirm. They did. Hop over the station.
What about Fanning and Pryor?
They're still out.
Well, they'll be back soon. When's the bus arrive?
6 o'clock.
There's plenty of time for them to make it.
There's more time for you.
We're still in that theft.
Can it wait?
No.
What is it, $10, $15 statue?
When's the price determine a case?
I realize it's a church statue, but that doesn't give it priority.
It's important to them, Captain. Joe and I promised to get it back.
What do you got on it?
Nothing much.
And why are you so big-hearted?
Burglary Friday. When? No. Don't say anything. No. Right. Claude Stroop. He just walked into the hotel. He's our suspect.
Nobody's leaked to him?
No.
You'll keep. You can run him down tomorrow.
It'll be too late then.
They need it for the first mass in the morning, Skipper. It's kind of a big thing for them.
I'm sorry. I can't juggle details around so you can get a statue back. If there's time later on, we'll do our best.
Yes, sir.
You better get over to the station.
Yes, sir. Will you call Father Rojas over at the mission?
Why?
Tell him we're too busy to work on that statue.
But we'll do it later. Tomorrow or when we get the chance.
Why can't you call him?
Well, we better get over to the station.
If Patterson's on that bus, we don't want to miss him.
All right, I'll call him.
Righty.
Yeah. I can send Fanning and Pryor over. You might as well stay on that other thing.
Whatever you say, Captain. "4:43 p.m. We arrived at the Golden Dream Hotel. The desk clerk was right. Claude Stroop looked like a man who'd had his troubles at bargain rates. Your name Claude Stroop?
Yes, sir.
Police officers. We'd like to talk to you.
I didn't do anything against the law. Honest, I didn't do anything against it.
You haven't been accused.
Want to take you downtown?
We'd like to talk to you.
No, sir. I'm not going. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to talk to anybody.
You're half wrong already. "5:15 p.m. We returned Stroop for interrogation. He kept his word. He refused to talk. 6:05 p.m. Frank called Fay, told her that he'd be a little late. Stroop didn't move for a whole hour. He sat and stared, but he didn't talk. 6:40 p.m. We got a final report from pawn shop detail. The shops were closed. There was no statue. Stroop still hadn't talked.
Don't you ever want to go home, Stroop?
If I was to talk, he wouldn't let me go.
Depends on what you'd say.
I'd say it wrong, and I wouldn't get home.
You won't this way either.
I'd like to go. You can bet on that. This is the 7th year we had the program, and I never missed a one. Not a single one.
Why don't you tell us what happened, Stroop?
How would I know you'd let me go?
You wouldn't.
I might as well anyway.
All right, what happened from Mass on?
Well, there was Mass. I came out and started down toward the hotel.
Back up.
I left my stuff at the hotel, and then I picked up George's car. I didn't steal it. He said I could have it any time I wanted. Only this time I didn't ask him. I took it and started out.
Now?
I should have asked, but I just didn't. I went over to Grand Avenue for the Christmas bulbs, for this fellow sells them secondhand. It was coming out of the lot, but I did it.
Yeah.
The bumper must have caught the other car. Didn't leave too big a dent, but there was this long scratch. I got out and tried to wipe it off with my handkerchief. You know, spit on it like. Only it didn't do no good. I didn't think anybody saw. I don't know how you fellows found out about it.
I'll check auto records.
Right. Stroop, we didn't bring you down here to talk about that.
We didn't?
No. There's a statue missing from the church. A statue of the child Jesus.
You mean I took it?
You took a bundle out of church?
Yes, sir. That was my other pants for the program tonight. I had a place sewed up and there was a button on it. You can check. But I wouldn't take a statue.
I don't think you would either.
He's clear at auto records.
Go on home.
For the program? You mean it's all right?
Good night, Stroop.
Good night. Merry Christmas.
Where to? Well, I don't know. We could stay and work on it tonight.
Wouldn't do any good. We won't find it.
I don't think so.
No use kidding the priest. Build his hopes up.
Might as well go tell him now. Merry Christmas. 7:27 p.m. We arrived at the old Mission Plaza Church. Frank told Father Rojas how it was, that we couldn't get the statue back by morning, but that we'd keep trying during the week. He said he understood. We told him we had to get on.
Paquito.
Padre Rojas.
Paco Mendoza, a boy from the parish.
Ask him where he found it.
¿Dónde lo encontraste?
No lo encontré, le cogí esta mañana.
He didn't find it, he took it.
Why?
¿Por qué?
Todos los años Paquito rezó por un camioncito rojo. Este año Paquito rezó al niño Jesús. Yo prometí al niño Jesús el primer viaje en mi camioncito.
He says all through the years he's prayed for a red wagon. This year he prayed to the child Jesus. He promised that if he got the wagon, the child Jesus would have the first ride in it.
¿Tendrá el diablo para llevar a Paquito?
He wants to know if the devil will come and take him to hell.
That's your department, Father.
No el diablo. Jesús ama a Paquito mucho. Vuelve a tu casa, Paquito.
I don't understand how we got that wagon today. Don't kids wait for Santa Claus anymore?
It isn't from Santa Claus. The firemen fix old toys and give them to new children. Paquito's family, they're poor.
Are they, Father?
Bunsen, you're saying the poor are especially favored by God?
The Gospel according to St. Mark. And Jesus sat over against the treasury, and beheld how the people cast money into the treasury, and many that were rich cast in much. And there came a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which make a farthing. And he called unto him his disciples, and saith unto them, Verily, I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast more in than all they which have cast into the treasury. For all they did cast in of their abundance, but she of her want did cast in all that she had, even all her living.
The general epistle of James. My beloved brethren, hath not God chosen the poor of this world, rich in faith, and heirs of the kingdom, what she hath promised to them that love him? The book of Psalms. He raiseth up the poor out of the dust, and lifteth the needy out of the dunghill, that he may set him with princes, even with the princes of his people. Also, I know that the Lord will maintain the cause of the afflicted and the right of the poor.
The Proverbs. Better is the poor that walketh in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool. Also, that the soul be without knowledge, it is not good. And he that hasteth with his feet sinneth. The foolishness of man perverteth his way, and his heart fretteth against the Lord. Wealth maketh many friends, but the poor is separated from his neighbor. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall not escape. Many will entreat the favor of the prince, and every man is a friend to him that giveth gifts. All the brethren of the poor do hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He pursueth them with words, yet they are wanting to him. He that getteth wisdom loveth his own soul. He that keepeth understanding shall find good. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall perish. Delight is not seemly for a fool, much less for a servant to have rule over princes. The discretion of a man deferreth his anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression. The king's wrath is as the roaring of a lion, but his favor is as dew upon the grass. A foolish son is the calamity of his father, and the contentions of a wife are a continual dropping. House and riches are the inheritance of fathers, and a prudent wife is from the Lord. Slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger. He that keepeth the commandment keepeth his own soul, but he that despiseth his way shall die. He that hath pity upon the poor lendeth unto the Lord, and that which he hath given will he pay him again. Chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare for his crying. A man of great wrath shall suffer punishment, for if thou deliver him, yet thou must do it again. Hear counsel, and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in thy latter end. There are many devices in a man's heart, nevertheless the counsel of the Lord, that shall stand. The desire of a man is his kindness, and a poor man is better than a liar. The fear of the Lord tendeth to life, and he that hath it shall abide satisfied. He shall not be visited with evil. A slothful man hideth his hand in his bosom, and will not so much as bring it to his mouth again. Smite a scorner, and the simple will beware, and reprove one that hath understanding, and he will understand knowledge. He that wasteth his father, and chasteth away his mother, is a son that causeth shame, and bringeth reproach. Cease, my son, to hear the instruction that causeth to err from the words of knowledge. An ungodly witness scorneth judgment, and the mouth of the wicked devoureth iniquity. Judgments are prepared for scorners, and stripes for the back of fools.
If someone is trying to pave a road to hell for the poor, we'll put up roadblock Jack. Or should I say, God will. But we'll be there to lend an assist.
I put Captain M.T. in your path. You changed him. I put Kathy in his way, and he changed her. I put the cursed clone and his robot in your paths, and it wasn't enough to stop the lot of you. I think some things simply must be done oneself. Mark my word, this do-gooder mission of yours ends now, Bunsen. I'll not have you interfering in my plans any longer.
Who are you? Get out of here, Hamler, now.
No angel here to help you this time, Glee.
Bunsen, is this?
I was afraid so. One warning, abandon this station. This mission, go back to Earth. Deal with your tiny lives, and let that be enough for you. Leave eternity to me.
Eternity is not yours to have. We've read to the end. It's over. Our side is won.
You have been warned.
What are we going to do, Bunsen?